shut the club down. Shut the club down. Shut the club down.
What time is it? What's the time at the moment? Oh yeah, it's Halloween, motherfucker. Happy Halloween. In honor of Halloween, thought I'd take the liberty of doing a little review for an album that's pretty spooky. There existed an addiction to blood by Clipping. I really love Clipping. I think they're one of the most exciting and unique groups in rap. They're a trio. There's one rapper of the group. His name is David Diggs, and there are two producers, two people that make the beats, the instrumental backdrops for David Diggs. That's William Hudson, Jonathan Snipes. The backgrounds of all these people, like, just sort of who they are, their creative minds, I find them all really interesting. David Diggs, you might actually know who he is outside of music, because he's an actor as well. He won an award, a Tony Award, for his role in Hamilton, the play. He starred in films like Wonder, Blindspotting, Velvet Buzzsaw. Jonathan Snipes and William Hudson are both film score composers. Well, they used to be, at least. They've composed quite a few scores. It's just kind of interesting seeing these two guys kind of cross over from that kind of world and translating their approach to making music to, like, making hip-hop beats. It's just like such an interesting sort of I guess progression. I highly recommend going on Spotify, giving them a little search up, and going on a listening spree. You got Mid-City, and the self-titled bangers on those, man. The Wriggle EP is also fucking fantastic. Some of the sampling they come up with, some of the samples they find are just, it's just so fucking cool. They just have such a cool ear for just sound design and sampling. The new album takes a horrorcore angle. I think they said the horrorcore subgenre of rap. It's a subgenre that has been pretty popularized by artists like Big L and Eminem on albums like Relapse, especially. You know, very morbid subject matters and stuff like that. They are basically kind of doing their take on that, and they approach it in a particularly tortured and disturbing way on this album that feels very paranoid. And Clipping's music took a bit more of a conceptual turn with the last album they released, which was in 2016. It was an album called Splendor and Misery, and I actually think this might be like the most original rap album out there. This thing is fucking insane. It's a story album. It's like a narrative about a slave that gets stranded in space, and they fall in love with like a computer, and they're basically just on this like search to find kind of life again in this just empty void of space, you know. They don't really know where they're going, they don't know where they'll end up. It's just it's really interesting how they incorporate that kind of slave angle with like gospel influence as well and stuff like that, and how they implement that within their typical brand of very harsh industrial electronic beats, and they make it work perfectly. It's really amazing, and the whole album flows so seamlessly. There are so many little Easter eggs and secrets in the story that you can pick up in some of the verses, and it's just such a fascinating album that I find myself completely transfixed by every time I hear it, and I think it's so one of a kind. It's honestly amazing in my opinion, and I was really curious to see what the hell they would come up with after this. How do you follow something so unique up? And this record was definitely the startling shock that I was hoping I would get from these guys. Some of the subject matters on here, some of the lyrical descriptions are genuinely a bit skin crawling, especially on the song The Show. That was the one that on first listen kind of unsettled me the most, because that song is all about red rooms, like dark web red rooms, and I've heard about those, and that scares me. What happens in this room is someone gets like tortured, and then people that are watching, that they've paid to watch it, can like, you know, bet on how they want the person to get tortured. It's pretty fucking disgusting, and this song kind of tackles that idea, how just the concept of like someone getting like, you know, attacked and someone dying and it being sort of entertainment. Like, there is something really skin crawling about some of the lyrics on these songs, and yeah, this isn't really an album for the faint of heart, but it's definitely gonna fit the Halloween, you know, vibe. Some of the songs are a bit less on that morbid and, you know, like vivid and descriptive side, and are more just about just feeling unnerved and creeped out, like on the song He Dead. The instrumental's really sparse. It just has these little like vocal breaths that pop in, and this like kind of jangly little sound effect. It sounds super ominous. It just has this sense of like a looming, overpowering presence, like hunting you down. Lines about how like you got legs, best to use them. Anyone who stopped running is now a ghost. Like, you gotta run for your life, which is actually the name of another song, which is kind of similar in theory, but just many lyrics about just like hiding, like don't bother facing whatever this is, just don't bother wondering what it is, just know you can't win and run. That's kind of how the album opens up with those first two tracks, is just with He Dead and Nothing to Say. So the album's just presenting itself in this way to where it's just like, you are helpless, just run, just like don't even worry. It just has this like really creepy feel to it, and I love the vocal appearance from, who is that on that fucking song? Ed Balloon. Yeah, he sounded fucking fantastic in my opinion. He just kind of sounds like some madman who's like seeing the future and how bleak it is, and is like yeah, just run. And I like the oh he did, the kind of like oh he did refrain. I think it's kind of clever. Just sort of treating death like it's just another thing, like oh he did, yeah, like just making it to be like a simple thing that you should expect. That's kind of how I took it, and that kind of makes it a bit more chilling. Club Down. I thought the song Club Down was terrifying. This track sounds like a nightclub shootout just breaks out, and you're just like, what the fuck, am I gonna die? I think that's what the song is suggesting is happening as well, with the lyrics and like that part where he's talking about how like ain't nothing gonna stop that gangster shit, like, but it ain't nothing to a gangster, like shit like this, shootouts, like, you know, gang violence, it's just like something that is like, it's gonna happen no matter what, like that's just like, you can't stop it. But the people doing it, like to them, it's not anywhere near as freakish as it is to the victims. It's just like another thing. And the way it paints it that way, I think is really gripping. I love the way David like goes into like such small details with his descriptions too. Like he'll just describe everything that's happening. He'll just mention small little things. Like on Run For Your Life, we'll talk about how like you went down an alleyway and there's sheets and it smells like piss. And oh, there's like, quick, you gotta duck down, there's a thing by the corner, run quick. Like describing the environment and like what the character in the song is doing. And it really puts you right in the place of whatever perspective he's sort of rapping from. And on that track, Run For Your Life, that's especially the case because the instrumental is also putting you in that position every bit as much as David is, because it's the thing with this beat, it's one of the most creative ideas for a beat I've ever fucking heard. It's like the beat is sort of replicating what the person would be hearing in that moment. Like you can hear the footsteps, his heart beating, you can hear the cars pass by, and as the cars pass by, they like pan from like ear to ear, and there's a beat playing from the car, and that becomes like the beat David is rapping on while the car passes by. It's so clever. Like this is what I'm talking about. This is why I think clipping is so fascinating. They just come up with these crazy beat ideas. Like they've like in the past they've rapped over an alarm clock, they've rapped over like the gunshot sound effects, and they made a beat out of that, and they just find like really clever ways to incorporate unorthodox sounds and ideas into hip-hop beats. And I just think that must come from guys like William Hudson and Jonathan Snipes, who have worked on film scores, like creating a world, building like an atmosphere. Like that crossover becomes really apparent when you notice those kind of things. And David is just such a captivating wordsmith, and his rhyme schemes, his flows, he has so many different flows on this record. If you're like a hip-hop head and you like hear like a capable rapper at the helm, clipping will come through for you as well, because there are so many stellar rhyme schemes, especially on the track of The Show I mentioned earlier on the second verse. There's a rhyme scheme, I'll pull it up now actually. It's like, it's fucking amazing. The best menage is a death menage, agree. Chest massage with electric rods for 3, just because probably set their jaws with rebar, and then pause while you get photography. Oh my god, that shit is fucking crazy. Blood of the Fang as well. Every verse gets progressively more just like, how is he fucking doing that? Like he's rapping so quickly, and it's purposeful too. I love how David, he raps really fast. Sorry, never does it just for the sake of going fast. It always kind of adds to the tension of the song or works within the track's context, like on Club Down as well. As that song revs up in intensity, his flow speeds up as well. It just adds and just keeps that momentum there. Some of the song structures are really strange as well, like on Attunement and All In Your Head, the latter of which I find the most puzzling, because it's like the verses are barely even really verses. They're just like 2-syllable phrases that get interrupted by these like blasts of harsh noise. Like literally it's like duh, 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 duh. Like it's like you'll have like 2 syllables, then it will screech with some crazy sound design that William and John came up with, and then it would just be like 2 syllables at a time, and it makes the song feel super claustrophobic, because it's like he's barely able to get like words out. It's just like it's in such a tight space. It just makes the song feel super just like harrowing and freakish. And then when David is not, you know, vocally on the song, you have a feature from someone named Robin Hood, who sounds super like sassy and outlandish and is just like speaking all this like ghetto shit with all these crazy effects. The song sounds like the musical equivalent to being possessed or like joining a cult or something, because the song ends on this note where it's really bright and euphoric. It almost comes off kind of spiritual, and this song overall, it sounds like the whole song is like some fucking creepy evil thing is like seeping its way inside you, and by the end it's like fully taken over and you've just awakened into this new thing. It's a fucking ride of a track. I thought that song was really cool. Attunement as well has one of the most violent fucking beats here. Super effective at really getting across the kind of hopeless tone in Daveed Diggs' lyrics and his voice. The way he raps in this song, he sounds like fully defeated, like all this evil is just like beating him to submission. Then it ends on Piano Burning, which is the closing track. It's not even really a song necessarily, it's more of just like an ending statement the album kind of just leaves on. It's an 18-minute long field recordings track where you literally just hear a piano burn for 18 minutes, and you can like, occasionally hear a piano note like spring off and shit. I feel like in some other context this track could be kind of relaxing or soothing, but given just how like bleak the album is, I found it kind of just like kind of, I don't know, despondent in a way, because you're just like, the album just ends on 18 minutes of just like empty, just sparse, just like a piano just dying, and it's just something kind of bleak about that. It doesn't really give the album much closure though, like some of the previous clipping projects, I call them Splendor and Misery. The closing track on that album wrapped things up so perfectly, I think, and I wish maybe this album had a bit more closure to the concept, because Piano Burning does feel, in a way, kind of like a cop-out, because they've done that kind of thing in the past where they have like a long field recordings track just to like close things off. I guess I would have just preferred a bit of like resolution, given just how conceptual and thematic the whole album was. Some other problems I had come in the interludes. Again, the interludes are very thematic, but I just don't think they were really snugly sort of embedded within the track list too well. On Splendor and Misery, for example, like that album, all the interludes were like essential and elevated the album's story and concept in a way to where like without them it just would fall flat on its face, and they were kind of necessary, and each one segued perfectly into the previous and next track. That's not really the case here. They took me out of the album every time. I just feel like they could have done a better job at sort of seamlessly integrating them within the tracks themselves, and sort of maybe giving them a bit more purpose and weight in the grander scheme of the record somehow. And also Story 7, unfortunately, kind of fell a tiny bit flat for me. I do typically like the story tracks from other clipping records. They've done Story 2, Story 1, Story 5. They're missing Stories 3 and 6, I think. I know Story 4 is out there. That's on like an Alt-J remix album. But they have this ongoing story series, and the characters kind of intertwine within them as well, which is kind of cool. So there's probably like a bigger picture to the story I'm missing. Feel free to tell me what that is in the comments. But the story in this track, Story 7, the one that appears on this new record, it involves this girl who's like worried that she's getting cheated on, and she ends up being right. But then the girl that the guy is cheating on her with is a werewolf. Maybe I shouldn't spoil it, actually. I think I should just go listen to the album for yourself. It's a cool story. It's definitely interesting, and again, fits the record, doesn't feel out of place or anything. And Daveed Diggs is a very captivating storyteller, but my issue with the track is actually in Daveed Diggs' singing segments. They pull me out of the song completely and make it really hard for me to get fully enveloped in the kind of morbid insanity of the story itself. Like, he'll be like, Cynthia, da 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 da. Lips, wait, so do this weird little stuttery thing, and it sounds kind of goofy to me. It strikes me as kind of silly, and maybe that wasn't supposed to come off that way, but it just comes off to me as kind of like humorous. It totally stopped me from getting like as disturbed by the story itself as I think it wanted to. I think it wanted to be really kind of shocking and like, oh shit, this is really dark, but I just couldn't get with it. I just found the story, I thought the story just fell flat for me. By the end I was like, you know what? That just kind of padded the album out for me. I would have preferred it if this track wasn't here. That's just me though. Maybe it will grow on me, who knows. But overall, this album's fascinating. This album's incredible. I think it's one of the most one-of-a-kind things I've listened to all year, and I think it solidifies clipping as just such an ambitious and interesting group. Like, it's just refreshing as fuck after, like, you know, this year with hip-hop music this year, like most fucking hip-hop records that release kind of retread pretty similar hip-hop fundamentals. And whilst they can still be good, it's just so refreshing to hear like a genuinely really original idea, like just a genuinely super creative concept and theme, just executed in a completely one-of-a-kind way, in a way that only clipping could do. My score for There Existed an Addiction to Blood is an 8 out of 10. I think it's fantastic, and I recommend it to everyone. It's one of my favorites this year. I think it's one of my favorite things clipping have released so far. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a fucking brilliant album, and I think it's really appropriate for your Halloween. So if you're doing something for Halloween, have fun, whether it be like trick-or-treating, whether it be a party, dressing up, whatever. Enjoy yourself. But if you ain't doing nothing for Halloween and you just want to chill by yourself, like in your bed or something, listen to this clipping record. It will fit your mood. I have been Buffalo Staple. Thank you so much for watching my review. I will see you on the next one. Let me know what you think of this clipping album. Tell me in the comments if you've listened to it, what you think of it. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye!